Greetings ladies and gentlefish, and welcome back to another subscriber replay, or pair of subscriber replays. If I sound a bit weird, perhaps quieter than normal, there's a very good reason for that. At the time of recording this, it's just gone 7 o'clock in the morning, but we've been up since 3:45 because of small person, and usually if she's up that early she'll go back to sleep relatively easily. But in this particular instance, apparently not. We finally got her back to bed. Loki's gone back to bed, but for me things aren't quite that straightforward. So I'm keeping my voice down a little bit. I apologise about that. I know my videos aren't the loudest anyway, but I'm keeping my voice down a little bit so I don't wake them up. But also if I start yawning or anything like that, I apologise. But I'm just taking advantage of the time, therefore, to record a video or two while I wait for the cat to come in. So, in today's video, we've got a couple of games from Wolfwin, and he's going to be playing some 703 stop being annoying. He's going to be playing some heavy tanks, but the heavy tanks in question are going to be of a rather different nature. And just before we get onto that, have you noticed already how this 703 was so desperate to have that position, from which he has thus far achieved nothing, that he was grinding up against Wolfwin here, meaning that Wolfwin couldn't make a shot land on the T10. He had a clean shot before that guy started grinding against him. That's just annoying. Anyway, so straight off the bat, Wolfwin is here in his AMX 5100. This is the regular tech tree tier 8, or one of the regular tech tree tier 8 heavy tanks for the French. This was the original one, the one that packs a really nasty 6-round autoloader with 300 alpha damage per shot, giving this thing the highest magazine capacity at tier 8. Everyone lately's been going on about the G-Saw and that magazine is nasty. Yeah, well, 5100 got there a long time before the G-Saw did, and with much higher magazine damage. That's not to say it's an outright better tank, I'm just pointing out that the magazine potential of this tank is bonkers. 1800 average mag damage, assuming all your shots hit and penetrate, but roll for average damage, 1800. Anyway. It's been a while since I played this tank, so it's going to be interesting to see how this thing performs. I'd expect this thing to, broadly speaking, still do alright, even if there are perhaps more comfortable autoloaders to play these days. Anyway, the other thing that's worth bearing in mind about this tank that people often disregard is, although the armour's not very good, it's a mobile tank that still weighs 50 tons, which means it is actually surprisingly good at ramming people. Might want to bear that one in mind for later on. Anyway, so we're in the AMX 5100. This is a tier 9 match, and we're here on Ruinberg. Now, this is not the best map for this tank. Wolfwin's put a shot into the tracks. He's going for the lower plate on this guy, so he's tracked this at 50 TP and managed to squeeze 2 shots into the guy's lower plate. So that's a little bit of speculative damage, nothing too shabby, although he does now have like best part of a 50-second reload. So Ruinberg isn't the best map for this tank. This tank very much plays more like a medium tank, because you've got the mobility, but you really don't have the armour of a traditional heavy. And with this auto-loading gun, and with, like I say, what tends to be the best part of a 50-second reload on this magazine, you can't just drive to a corner and duke it out with heavy tanks, because A, they'll penetrate you, B, they'll have more hit points than you, and C, if you're trading shot for shot, what was the point of you having an autoloader in the first place? You know, you're just not playing to this tank's strengths. So this tank plays much more like a medium. Oh, French gun handling there. And no more shots on the FV. This tank plays much more like a medium than it does a traditional heavy. So, although one shot fired, still got 5 rounds in the magazine. That's still 1500 average damage. That's still the hit points of your typical tier 8 tank gone. Now the scoreline's 6-9, and Wolfwin hasn't done a colossal amount of damage. By the way, Wolfwin just got invited into a platoon by someone with the amazing name of Fairly Moist Wet Wipes. Anyway, going for this Skoda T50, Wolfwin disregards the FCM 50T to go for the Skoda, which I think is an entirely sensible decision. And actually what Wolfwin did was really clever there. So he put 2 shots into the Skoda, which gives him 3 rounds left in the mag. He then rammed the guy to death. Remember, this is a 50-ton tank. While the guy was reloading. So Wolfwin took a little bit of damage, but it means that Wolfwin still has 3 100mm shots in this autoloader, which means he can do more damage to the FCM 50T. Now, as it turns out, because there was the Lorraine 40-ton there as well, he didn't actually need to do that. He could have just put the extra shot into the Skoda, but I actually, in the grand scheme of things, quite like that play. Wolfwin did take a little bit of damage for it, 145, but that's the sort of thing that, situationally, it's worth bearing in mind with this tank. Is it worth putting in a ram, possibly picking up a little bit of damage yourself, as in taking a little bit of damage yourself, in order to have the extra shot in your magazine to then punish someone more heavily? Oh, that's a bad engagement. Now, what I don't like here is that Wolfwin has got himself into a fairly exposed position, and he did it before his gun was loaded, which I think is a bit of a dodgy play. Now, the enemy team, so the friendly team, are capping, and here, Wolfwin again, he's out in the open. You've got a Standard B, a Somua, and potentially an FV, all of whom will have superior positions to him. And he just lost hit points there with no need to do so. So that's one thing you really have to be careful in these big fat French autoloaders. You're a large tank, your armour sucks, your camo rating is not very good because you're the size of a small European country. And things can just be really messy. Now what's lovely here is that Wolfwin, ooh, hello Mr. Somua, Wolfwin and, not well aimed, this Lorraine 40-ton are going to work together a little bit. Unfortunately, they're basically now both one-shots. The issue with that engagement, of course, is the Somua SM does have some frontal armour, and Wolfwin therefore had to go for weak spots against the Somua, and Somua could just put shots into Wolfwin at the same time. It's really tricky engagement, that one, and I don't actually think... I think that could have gone quite badly wrong. These French autoloaders are not the easiest tanks in the world to play, and it can be quite easy to overestimate your potential for damaging people and underestimate how much of a slapping you're going to take in response. Anyway, 2 tanks left on the enemy team. We've got the FV4202, who was last spotted out in the field, and we've got a Jagdtiger somewhere. Now that's still a lot of hit points left on the enemy team. The Jagdtiger on his own is best part of 2,000 hit points, if he's full health. A little bit of assistance there onto the FV, as other people might have been... Ooh, there's the Jagdtiger. Work him over. Nice big fat juicy shots into the butt. Lovely shot there to track the Jagdtiger. Jagdtiger's on fire, and oh, this is just delicious. And the enemy, sorry, the friendly Lorraine 40-ton, Fairly Moist Wet Wipes there, picks up the kill as it turns out, but oh, that was delicious. Some assistance damage there as well. Shot on the FV, not the best aimed shot in the world, unfortunately. Can Wolfwin get one more shot in? He can. Rolls low, but what you gonna do? And the friendly IS-3 picks up the kill. The friendly IS-3 racked up a Top Gun there for the record, so that's nice. Anyway, let's have a look at the post-game stats for this one. So, no massively shiny medals for Wolfwin there, but still Ace Tanker, Bruiser, Duelist, 5 for effect, and Kamikaze for the ram kill on that Skoda T50. I still think that play on the Skoda T50, Penguin right there, lovely name again, was situationally quite a clever play, And that, along with the fact that I haven't shown the 5100 in a while, they're the main reasons I really wanted to show this replay. An interesting use of the weight of the AMX 5100 that I don't think a lot of people would have thought of. So, yeah. 4039 damage in the end. It didn't feel like that much, but I always find that when you're using autoloaders, the damage racks up much faster than you think it does, because instead of thinking in terms of individual shots, you end up thinking in terms of magazines, and of course this thing has a lot of magazine damage. And quite a lot of that damage, to be fair, was picked up on that Jagdtiger at the end, but you know, when you're presented with the nice juicy booty of a tier 9 Tang Destroyer like that, oh, delicious. Shout out, by the way, Ragnit in the IS-3, 5,500 damage and a Top Gun, almost 1,700 base experience. He had a stonking round there, and it's really nice to see a couple of regular Tech Tree Tier 8 tanks really pulling their muscle in a game. 4,500 damage blocked by his armour. So big shout out to Ragnit. The object 7032 there. This one, Collijadian? I can't pronounce his name properly. Also a really nice game from him. 1,400 base XP from him, 3,500 damage and 4 kills. Let's not talk about the other one. I believe it was that one who was kind of nuzzling up against Wolfwin there and depriving him of shots on the T10 at the beginning of the game. But really interesting. Oh, and of course we have to shout out Fairly Moist Wet Wipes. Firstly for the name, and also for that little bit of teamwork with Wolfwin there. So really nice result. In fact, if I order it in terms of experience, despite the fact that he picked up an ace, Wolfwin was actually 3rd in XP in that game. And that game really was a story of, well, it's a tier 9 game, but hey, our tier 9s clearly aren't going to carry the show. So I guess it's up to the tier 8s, or let's not forget the M103 with 0 damage, and Ragnit, Collijadian, Wolfwin and Fairly Moist Wet Wipes between them, stepping up to the plate and really putting in a very good performance there. 18 shots fired, 16 hits, 12 penetrations for that damage count, about close, half of which was from close range. 5 hits received, 3 penetrated, 2 did not. You will get the odd bounce on the 5100, but you can't rely on the armour. There'll be sort of just quirky angle bounces. 490 damage blocked by his armour, as you can see there. 2 enemy vehicles spotted, 6 damaged, 3 destroyed, 917 assistance damage, 3.5 kilometres travelled, and with a premium account that was a 55,000 credit profit, which is a very, very nice result. So there we go, a little bit of AMX 5100 gameplay for you, and we're going to follow that up with some more heavy tank gameplay, but this one's going to be of a slightly different persuasion. Game number 2 then, and this time Wolfwin is driving the Tier 9 German heavy tank, the VK 4502P Aufst B, on everyone's favourite high tier map, Mines! For anyone who can't tell, that's what we call sarcasm. This is a tank that I've played way too many games in, especially for a machine I don't really like. So when I was originally playing this tank, it led to the mouse at tier 10. So you went through the VKA, the VKB, and then went to the mouse. So I played this thing and unlocked the mouse and sold it, and was very grateful for selling it, and I'd aced it, so I didn't need to rebuy it, or so I thought. Then Wargaming rejiggled the tech trees, and suddenly I have to play this again to unlock the Panzer 7. So just like... So I have a mouse, despite the fact that I've never played the Malshan, whatever you call it, and I have only a very small number of games in the VK101P. But anyway, onto this game. First off, I find it very interesting that Wolfwin is not loading any high explosive in his VK. This is a 128mm gun, and the high explosive rounds with 630 average damage and 65 penetration situationally can actually be very useful. So if you're playing one of these German tanks with these nice big juicy guns, I would recommend taking a couple of rounds of high explosive. Don't go overboard, but a couple of rounds can be good. Now, Wolfwin here is in his VK. He's top tier, so this is a tier 9 match. Although the matchmaking, could be better. There could be tier 7s to shoot at, so Oh, there we go. ISM on the enemy team using his high explosive to good effect. But he's not using his armour to good effect, so he's just going to be able to farm him here. So yeah, yay, more HE. Oh, that was not a particularly well aimed shot, unfortunately. Go figure. But anyway, so Wolfwin is side-scraping around this corner. Like I say, the matchmaking here could be better, but it'd be churlish to complain too much. There are no tier 10s to worry about. And at the moment, Wolfwin's just chewing this ISM up. But it's so much HE. Why is everyone firing HE? I mean, I guess it's better than firing gold, I suppose. Now, what's interesting about the HE spam here is that as Wolfwin is side-scraping around this corner, this is the slightly worse side for the VK to be side-scraping around, because it exposes the side of your turret with your commander's cupola. So you can take damage if people have some half-decent aim. As it is, everyone in this match, well, I say everyone, it's the M103 and the ISM at the moment, they're all just spamming HE at Wolfwin here. Now, on the one hand, that is irritating from Wolfwin's perspective, because he's just getting nickel and dimed down for 100 something damage every shot. However, on the other hand, that'd have been a juicy kill. On the other hand, he's trading better. Every time they hit him for 100 and something, he hits them back for almost 500, because this gun has 490 alpha damage. So there's that. I would not be side-scraping in front of the T95 just for the round. Ooh, lower front plate on the M103, thank you very much. Now, some of you might be looking at this going that you're surprised they're doing this much damage to Wolfwin, and I've said this in a previous video, but I'm gonna mention it again. So, there's a couple of things to note here. Firstly, most of the shots are going into the side of the VK. Now, the VK's side armour isn't actually as good as some other similarly configured tanks. You don't have tracks covering the whole of the side armour to act as spaced armour or anything like that. So Wolfwin is going to take more damage to HE rounds than some other sort of kind of similar rear turreted tanks might. The other thing to bear in mind is if they fire HE at the front of Wolfwin's turret, although the front of the turret on this tank is thickly armoured, within the explosion radius of those HE rounds will be the turret, sorry, not the turret, the engine deck of this tank, because this is a rear mounted turret. And the way HE shells work is that they create a sphere around the point of impact, and then the damage is actually calculated against the point within that sphere that would do the most damage to that tank. The idea is that as your shell explodes, it will do, you know, more damage to anything in that region that's thinly armoured, basically. So, in this case, the damage will most likely be calculated against the engine deck armour, which will be much thinner than the front of Wolfwin's turret. So it means that tanks like this take a lot more damage from HE than you would expect, and when I was playing this tank, and bearing in mind this was a long time ago, before artillery had stun mechanics and all that jazz, I did used to take a lot of damage from artillery in particular, and I remember getting penetrated, full-on penetrated, by artillery, tier 7, so lower tier artillery, firing high explosive rounds that just penetrated straight through the engine deck for 1,000 damage, 900 damage, something like that. So that is something that is definitely worth bearing in mind with a tank that is configured like this with a rear mounted turret. Anyway, on with the show, now that we've done the public service announcement. So the way these guys are, finally. So Malshan takes his shot, and yes, the Malshan was firing APCR, but do you see what I mean about the way that this particular position works? Wolfwin having to expose the weaker side of his turret, because that's the side of the turret with the commander's hatch on. And it means that an enemy tank who is taking care with their shots can and will penetrate you in that commander's hatch. Now, the guy didn't have to be firing APCR, that was, however you look at it, that was a well-aimed shot into the cupola there. I expect armor piercing would have done the job. I haven't looked at the armor profile of this tank in quite a while, but I expect armor piercing would have done the job. That, however, whilst I understand that Wolfwin didn't want to aim for too long in case he took damage from someone like the M103 maybe, at the same time that was not a particularly well aimed shot. Commander's Cupola, well not Commander's Cupola, but one of those Cupolas on the T95, and there we go. Lovely penetration there, 356 damage to take that guy out. ISM, HE at Wolfwin again. This time it looks like the HE shell was to the lower plate of Wolfwin. The armour is much thicker there because if the shell goes into the lower plate, there is no thinner armour within the explosion radius and that can draw a line of sight to the point of impact. So much less damage there from the HE shells at 57. So Wolfwin is actually down to 532 hit points there. That's a rather ambitious M103 play. However, at the same time, Wolfwin wasn't exactly angling his armour against the 103. One of the problems with tanks like this is that it can take you, you're a bit sluggish, so it can take you time to readjust. Oh, that was a poorly aimed shot. Take some time to readjust your position. Stritzwang wasn't actually looking at Wolfwin there. He had the time to aim that shot, and unfortunately he didn't. He has the time to aim this shot again. Much better. Excellent. Nicely done. And the Charioteer takes out the M103. So at this point, the team is actually now winning 7-5. Now we have to be careful about that Stritzwang Stritzwang S1. Well, I thought we had to be careful about him, but if you're going to do that... Ooh, that's an over angle of your side armour. If you're going to do that, and just poke your ear out, then yeah. And 506 is a slightly high damage roll for this gun, but not by much. 490 average. So, yeah, take out that Stritzwang. Now, Wolfwin's in a slightly dicey position here. He loads some APCR, which is not necessarily a terrible decision. Although, if he had high explosive, this may be not a terrible idea. The Malshan also has a rear-mounted turret, so if you just derp HE shells into the front of this Malshan's turret, then again you'd catch the engine deck in the explosion radius, much like what happened to the VK, and you'd do some damage and you wouldn't have to aim very much. As it is, Wolfwin plays that really well. He waits for the Malshan to have fired at someone, and then he takes his shot, and with an APCR round, which I think packs about 311 pen, 311, he just puts that shot through the front of the Malshan's turret. Now, he's playing a bit cautiously here because he is a one-shot, and if anybody so much as sneezes on him, he is done for. Jagdtiger, oh, he is spotted, but paying a little bit of assistance damage against the Jagdtiger. There's no artillery to worry about. The artillery has gone to a better place. So, can we get a shot into the side of this Jagdtiger? Come on, come on, come on, come on. There's a slim shot there. Yeah, there we go. 434. Into the side of that Tier 9 German Tank Destroyer. There's still 3 of them left. Ooh, that Jagdtiger appears to be hiding. Can't really say I blame him. Friendly team is capping for some reason. You get an XP bonus depending on how many of the enemy team are left alive. The more that are left alive, the less XP you get. So, in these sorts of situations, capping is actively a bad idea. But, hey, the friendly team win by cap with just the G-Saw left. Now, that G-Saw, that's the Tier 9 British light tank. That is not the auto-loading Tank Destroyer. So I'm pretty sure if they wanted to, Wolfwin's team could have gone and killed him. But, you know, it is what it is. The game's over. Let's have a look at the post-game stats. So, there we go. In the end, despite the fact that Wolfwin's team didn't actually kill the last tank on the enemy team, Wolfwin was still able to pick up an ace tanker for that, along with fire for effect and a high caliber medal. Now, as it turned out, that was 5,321 damage. 28 damage even, I can read. 1,209 base experience. So you don't actually need that much XP to ace the VK. Just a shade over 1,200 will do the job, clearly. Enemy team, the Lerva managed just over 3,000 damage himself, which is a good result from him. Not enough to get a win for his team, but, you know, a good enough result for him, and 3,000 damage from the T95. 16 shots fired, 14 hits, 11 penetrations for that damage count, all of which was from nice close range. His armour didn't really have much of an opportunity to do much. 12 hits received, 2 penetrated, 2 did not, just because of the amount of high explosive that came Wolfwin's way. You don't see HE spam of that magnitude all the time, although having said that, I swear the amount of HE spam these days is greater than it used to be. It used to be that only the terrible players fired HE at you. Now people will just load up HE in, you know, fire it at you, which in some situations is not a terrible idea, especially if you're packing a 122mm gun or something. But anyway, it is what it is. 3 enemy vehicles spotted, 6 damage, 2 destroyed, 623 assistance damage, and with a premium account, that was enough for a 72,000 credit profit, although it's worth pointing out that was also including 38,000 credits from a personal reserve. So there we go. A couple of bits of gameplay for you in heavy tanks, courtesy of Wolfwin there. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you are interested in submitting your own replays to yours truly, jump on Discord. There should be a link in the video description. And upload your replays to whatreplays.com or .eu, or you can use Pointyhead Jedi's site if you want. Any of those are fine. And a link to the replay, shove it in Discord in the appropriate channel, and I shall take a look. There's a variety of reasons I choose to feature replays. It's not just, oh my god, that was an amazing curry. It could just be tanks I haven't played in a while, or haven't seen in a while, or haven't shown you in a while, or whatever. There's loads of different reasons, so by all means, throw your replays in there, and I shall take a look. I hope you guys enjoyed that, which I think I've already said. The tiredness is kicking in. If you did, by all means feel free to catch some of my other videos, and or subscribe to my channel. And I wish you very happy hunting on that battlefield. Ciao, ciao.